Hello, beautiful dreamers. I am so excited for today's episode. I have my friend Laura Williams with me, and she just came to mind a couple of weeks ago because she is the perfect inspiration for everything that I dream for you. I mean, she has pursued her dreams from the moment I met her. And she's taken trips across the country. She's inspired other women. She's inspired me. And that's why I wanted to bring and share my friend Laura Williams with you. And Laura, when we first met, I think it was like about 2013. It was actually in Washington, D.C. And we were
Oh,
lobbying for the Trafficking of Victims Protection Act. I know.
wow.
And we have crossed paths. There's so many things volunteering at Chick Time. There's so many things about you that have inspired me. But I know it didn't stop with me. I know that since we first met in Washington, D.C., and we volunteered in Chick Time together, you were going to nursing school at the time. And it's been, wow, a dozen years ago. So just catch us up on where you've been since then.
Yeah. Wow. Like I honestly didn't remember it's been that long. That's amazing. That's amazing, Caroline. Wow. So a lot has happened since then for sure. I'm still involved with Chick Time in a different way. And for those who don't know Chick Time, it's a group of women who go into we'll call it group homes because it makes more sense to people. It's not necessarily called that, but it's a place that house and support youth that are in foster care are court ordered to be there. So typically minors. And I still do that, but I do it in a different way. I actually offer a free CNA class. We're going to be doing one in a few weeks at one of where Chick Town was birthed at the New Life Treatment Center. So I still do that. I still am a part of Women of Vision, which is what we were, a part of World Vision's Women of Vision to lobby where I've had the privilege to travel to Africa a few times, and Honduras was my latest trip that I took with them. And just to be able to see the transformation that happens in that part of the world because of the gospel and because of the curriculum that's biblically based, it's just eye-opening and it's just mind-blowing. And we sponsor children. We actually just I have to actually do something about this, but one of our first sponsored child, Dinah, she's outgrown the sponsorship program. So she's as old as my youngest, which is now 19, and
Wow.
she no longer needs sponsorship. And she's near and dear because I met her 4 different times of traveling. So I've literally seen her grow by traveling to Kenya, and I didn't know how to feel about that. And I wrote a post about it. Like I'm kind of bitter. I'm happy, and I'm a little like, oh. My husband and I, we have opened up a training school since then. We are in we're going into year 5, I believe. I've kind of lost count, but we launched it in 2020 in the midst of COVID, and we
Wow.
provide in-demand skills like in healthcare, like CNA, medical assistant, phlebotomy. My husband is an HVAC contractor, so we do have an HVAC program. And for those who don't know what that word means, it's just the people that take care of your AC and your heating. Okay, like we
Okay.
need
Okay.
in Texas. So we have programs that allow people to get into these industries within, honestly, sometimes as short as 4 weeks, up to about 9 weeks. They're
Wow.
able to get in and get employed, get and start making better money. And we have Treasured Protege, a 501c3 organization that provides housing, education, and mentorship for youth that have aged out of foster care. And that just means they turned 18, they were in care, in foster care, and now they're turning 18. They age out. And we provide what they call is a SEAL program, a SEAL house, which allows them to be in that house up until 21 if they are following the rules and following what is required. And honestly, the requirements are very small in my mind, but I've learned working with this population that any rule is big. So yeah, they just require them to work at least 20 hours a week and go to school at times if they haven't finished high school. And then also they have to be just growing, right? Get a driver's license, just those monumental things that help prepare them for adulthood.
Yeah.
So yeah, outside of publishing a few books, going to nursing school. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into some of these a little bit more deeper, but in synopsis, since 2020, 2013, it's been a lot. It's been a
Yeah.
lot of different things.
Well, if anyone is interested in diving a little deeper into any of those organizations or endeavors that Laura talked about, we are going to have all of the links in the show notes. So you don't have to be scrambling to write all of that stuff down because it's a lot, right? I told you she's amazing, right? And Laura, I want women to know because what I've found, what I've discovered is having a big dream is overwhelming. And sometimes an obstacle comes up and it
Mhm,
just thwarts like the vision of women all the time. And when I met you, like I said, you were in nursing school. And then
mhm.
it's like you just like time warped into all of these like amazing endeavors. What inspired you or what encouraged you? Because you weren't handed life on a silver platter.
No.
You're like me. I tell my husband he's a brat because he came from that middle class family with two parents. They sent him to college. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. It wasn't easy for me and it wasn't easy for you. So what was different? What motivated you to keep pursuing those dreams one after another?
Yeah, you're right. I didn't grow up in this. I don't even know what that. Well, you know what? We've created that for our children.
Oh, I
So
love that.
I
Yeah.
know it from that perspective. We are a two-parent home, which is not something we experience, my husband and I.
Yeah.
But we've created that middle class. Let's get it. So I grew up, in a very dysfunctional, broken home. At the end of the day, a dysfunctional home is a broken home
Yes.
with that consists of broken people who
Yes.
are unhealed and are in cycles. And now that children, are brought up in that, we are then exposed to those cycles and that brokenness and that abuse, that trauma. And that is my story. I did a period of time in foster care because of abuse,
Mhm.
and that being both physical and that being both and also sexual. So and I'm very transparent, so get everybody, put your bootstraps on, like we're going to go as deep as we need to, because I really want women to understand that life doesn't have to look a certain way. Like your start doesn't have to be perfect. If whatever
Yes.
perfect is, because to me, it doesn't really exist in our world anyway. It's an illusion.
Yeah. That's right.
Just an illusion. But that many of us, and a lot of the women that you're walking by in a grocery store that you're seeing doing things or you don't know, we're all navigating something, even today. Like we're going to talk about that.
Right.
So I left home at 16, and it was because I had an experience with God. So I want people to be
Mm.
very, just know that my story, my origin story of accomplishing these things is like an icing on the cake of my life. The meat of the cake is my relationship with God. And in my mind, and what I know to be true to myself, is that if I didn't have these experiences with God as a teenager, I would not be who we're going to learn about today. There's just
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind, because I was a very broken, depressed young lady. I was, because I didn't understand why my life turned out to be what it is. And I'll give an example of that and we'll go to the next question. But I remember, being in foster care, coming out, being a teenager. I used to run track. I mean, make average grades. I wasn't necessarily a straight A student. I didn't make A's until I went to nursing school because I really loved caring for people. So I was a very average student. But as soon as around puberty hit, I would say about 13, 14, I remembered the day that I woke up and I remembered every bit of my past and every
Mm.
bit of the abuse that I experienced. For whatever reason, there was a gap of time that was just hidden,
Mhm.
and it wasn't in the forefront of my everyday. And that day, it all came flooding in. And I remember feeling my heart get hard.
Mm.
I remember saying, I don't care about nothing. And that wasn't the way I said it. Trust me.
Yeah.
It was very colorful words. Like I just stopped at my heart. I stopped loving my family at that moment. I stopped loving myself. I even said it.
Mm.
I remember declaring it. Like it just, that trauma became my reality. And after that, for a few years, I started making destructive decisions. I quit high school. I stole cars. I know y'all are like, what? Like, I used to rob people. I did things in that little span of time of just recognizing and what I just believe like a time bomb just set off in my life. And I became a different person. And later on in that journey, my grandmother actually got saved while we were in foster care. So I'm going back just slightly just to give a picture of this. So just imagine, we're taken away out of a very traumatic home where alcohol is, where we're being abused, both sexually and physically. And we go into a foster care home. I go into a foster care home where we're being abused physically. Like, so we went from one dynamic, I went from one dynamic to another. And I always say we because I'm thinking about my family. But I come back into that home. My grandmother is saved. She has full custody of us. And now church becomes a part of this. And remember, this is my grandmother. So that means my grandmother got saved in her elder years, right? She had a moment, right? So we come into a new home where now God is a part of the narrative and we're hearing the gospel for the first time in our lives. So that seed begins to be planted. Fast forward to the moment that I'm like, I don't care, whatever it is, that seed has now been planted.
Yeah.
So God has something to work with me, even though I'm very hardcore. I remember my grandmother just like looking at me like, I don't even recognize you. Like I changed that vividly. But it was a season where God began to woo me and begin to use what I call strangers to let me know that he had a plan and a purpose for my life.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I use Ephesians 2:10 a lot, that we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do specific things that he predestined for us to do. And you just said that, like, he had a plan for your life. And even though you went this direction, he brought you back into the fold with your grandmother to
Yeah.
fulfill that plan. And I really appreciate you being transparent because I feel like there's a woman out there that has in the back of her mind, like, yeah, that's great for you, but you don't know what I've done or you don't know where I've come from.
Yes.
And so you just connected with that woman. You just allowed her to say, me too, in
Yeah.
her heart. Like,
Yeah.
that happened to me too. And you're giving her hope and you're giving her the opportunity to dream again and know what can be possible. And I
Yeah.
see that all the time, and it breaks my heart when people give up on their dreams, especially young women. That's my favorite. That's how we connected,
Yeah. Yeah.
mentoring young women. And when I see them and they just have that icy stare like you had, like you said, your grandmother didn't even recognize you anymore. And
Mhm.
because of circumstances that the enemy brought across by the choices of another human's free will,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
enemy was trying to divert you from this path. I mean,
Yeah.
but you got all, you like put your golden gloves on. You're just like, you came back with a vengeance to fight for other women. And it reminds me of Romans 5:3 and 4. It says, we also glory in our sufferings because we
Mm.
know that suffering
Yes.
produces perseverance. That's what I see in
Yes.
you. That
Yeah.
perseverance produces character,
Yeah.
and that character produces hope.
Wow.
That's when you came together at 16 with God. He's like, oh, we're going to grow you, girl. We're going to grow you. And we're going to make you like a role model for all the other 16-year-old Lauras. That perseverance is going to strengthen you. It's going to produce a character. And that character, the enemy has not been able to chip away. And it's not like, oh, I graduated nursing school and it was all like roses, unicorns, and butterflies, was it?
No, not even a little bit. I feel like, I know some people may not like this, but I feel like we should be saluted.
Yeah.
Like nursing school is intense, it's hard, and some instructors honestly have make it harder.
Yes.
Like they really are trying in their mind to create a scenario that they're building you, but they're really traumatizing you. Like it's hard. I've had to deal with some things and forgive some people in nursing school, and I went into nursing school knowing what I wanted,
Mhm.
because when I would have conversations with instructors about their behavior, a lot of times they would say things like, well, we're trying to teach you how to, be in healthcare. And I'm like, I've been in healthcare since I was 16,
Yeah.
so going, but tying Job Corps in and how I got into healthcare, I became a CNA.
Okay.
So I've been caring for people since I was 16. So I understood professionalism and all of the things I've dealt with, even my patients calling me names and having to just, pull it aside and just take care of the person. I had navigated that since I'm 16. So
Wow.
I'm an adult now, and I'm in nursing school, and you telling me you trying to teach me something, sis, stop. like, so in a professional manner, I would just be like, you don't have to teach me anything. I know what I want.
Mhm.
And I don't want this to be boot camp because you want it to be boot camp for me.
Right.
I just want an environment where I can learn. So nursing school is not easy by any means, but it's possible for those who want to go. I don't want to discourage anybody, but I'm very real. And when we're in the school of training healthcare professionals. So I tell my students that it's not easy, but it's possible. And I don't want people to, this is the question I even ask the girls at New Life, right? The youth that are in care. It's like, why do we think that something has to be easy for us to try it?
That's good.
Like, when did we get this idea that anything in the world is easy? Like, I'm really curious about that. Like, the older you get, right, you get a little bit mature, you ask better questions.
Yes.
And I'm just like, and they're like, that's a good question, Miss Williams. Like, nothing is really easy. If you're learning something new, it's going to be hard at first
Hmm.
because you didn't know it. You didn't come in, I mean, why would you be in school if you knew it, right? So give yourself a break. Stop expecting it to be easy. Understand that there's aspects of it that will be hard. But once you get into it, do what you're supposed to do to learn
Yes.
the material, right?
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
So I want to ask you because you talked about what you experienced.
Yes.
So how did you take that experience of you're like, this ain't supposed to be boot camp and deliver it in a different, not necessarily easy, I'm not saying easy, but in a
Right.
different manner in the company that you and your husband formed, the Williams Career School?
Yeah, it's not easy. I will say that. And the only reason I say that is because I get students who expect to lollygag. And we are an adult education
Mhm.
program. We don't, we do have students that are 16, but they're young adults, right? They're already forming their minds and stuff. So I'm big on accountability.
That's good.
Me and my team, if a student is struggling or if they come with excuses, we're like, you signed up for this. We didn't sign you up for this. This isn't a program that you self-enroll in, right? So just holding them accountable. And I'm just very clear day one, like if you don't do what is required, you will not pass our program. We will not be pushing you forward to the state or national exam because that is our goal is for our students to sit for that state level or national level certification and pass on the first attempt. We want them to pass first.
Mhm.
So if we're going to do that, then you have to do your part because we put the curriculum together. We do everything. I feel like we're a little like Chick-fil-A. God has told me I'm a little like Chick-fil-A. Don't put don't deliver my curriculum the way you want it. If you're coming to teach for me, I've created it in a way that I know that it works.
Yes.
I'm very detailed in how I want things to be laid out because I know what it's going to produce for my students on the other side. So at the end of the day, our students still have homework, they have workbooks, they have assignments. They go in and facilities, they take care of residents. We talk about the difficulties and the challenges that come across those that role.
Hmm.
And we also talk about professional and unprofessional behavior
Wow.
because I've learned that even for adults, for again, people, for whatever reason, we come into scenarios thinking that it's going to be the way we think it's going to be, not
Hmm.
recognizing that you're going to come across different personalities. And just because you like the way one person worked, now you're assigned with another person that you don't get to work, like you don't interact with them in a professional manner. So we're all in the business of like, let's just take off the wool. Pigtail care, and you're taking care of people that are in vulnerable situations.
Uh,
And you're also working with everyday people. Like you're not working with your fantasy of a person. You're working with for real, like this seriously. Like I have to say this in orientation. Like I'm already prepping for one on Monday. Like I need us to understand that. So when you have a different instructor that has a different way of doing it, you are okay with that because your job is to do your job,
Yeah.
is to take care of the people. Bottom line. Yeah. So
I think in pictures, and when you're talking, I feel like we have a dream, right? We have a perception of what
yeah,
life is supposed to look like. And I get this
yes.
all the time. It's like, Carolina, blah, blah, blah. There's no such thing as fairy tales. And I was like, well, I disagree. Like I've read the book, but in every fairy tale, there's like antagonists, there's trials, there's
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah.
And at the end of the book, our handsome prince comes riding in on a white horse, right? Right. I mean, that's the book. Um, Nobody said it's going to be easy, but we have this picture like a rose. And it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
beautiful. They're like, Miss Williams, I'm going to be a nurse and I'm going to be amazing. And you're just like, do you see those thorns? Do you see,
Right.
like, but it sounds like you're growing competent humans
Yeah. I'm
because
trying.
you're really preparing them for life. First of all, the
Yeah.
accountability. Like I just
Yeah.
wish more people had accountability to step up and not make
Yeah.
excuses. But
Yes.
also, I love how you mentioned the different personalities because
Yes.
you can't handle the different personalities of instructors. Like you're going to be in for a rude surprise when you go out in the real world.
Literally. Literally.
So I'm
And my,
gonna
yeah.
this leads me and it's might be like unrelatable, but that's what I visualized that rose when you were talking, and
That's so
that leads me
good.
to our timeless truth for today, which is the future, and this is the
Mhm.
people that, like I said, the students that you're growing. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams,
Mm.
recognizing there's going to be adversity, recognizing there's going to be
Yes. Yes.
but you have to believe in the beauty. You have to believe in the calling of God in your life. You have to believe that you're pursuing a higher purpose while you're here on earth. And I see that's what you're creating in this school. I mean, and all the things you do. Your
Yeah.
tenacity amazes me.
Yeah, definitely. I like that vision because it is true. I think we have to recognize that life is both and. You
Yes.
know, when 2020, I just, I feel like God gave me that revelation. Like, life is both and. You're gonna have aspects of your life that you're like, man, things are going good. I'm thriving, it's rolling. And there's that little percentage of it that you're like, oh, I'm still waiting. For me, I'm still waiting on God in this specific area. But I don't allow the area that I'm waiting on God that may feel like a thorn,
Mhm.
to misrepresent the beauty that also exists. And I notice, I don't know about no one else. Maybe it depends on it in everybody's life and where you are. But for me, I feel like the rose always outdo the thorns. Like I feel
Yes.
like if you're really focused and you're thankful and you're recognizing the good that's already happening, and it could just be you recognize something in you that you didn't recognize 10 years ago. To me, that's huge. And that was a huge part of my journey. So when people ask, like, how are you doing this? And how did you start so young and you still are like, it's because I am like determined to continually be on the surgery table with God. I think
Mm.
if we think we've arrived, we're wrong.
Yes. Amen.
I just this period, like I'm constantly like I just took a 5 day like outing with my family, but I love resorts, I love water, I love like just to go away from the house and every day I walked for at least 2 hours or so. And I fasted and I prayed and I asked God, is there anybody I need to forgive? Like
Mm.
I a lot of us are not willing to deal with the ugly. And I
Yes.
just want people to know as women, like deal with the ugly. Layer by layer. It don't have to be a whole like platter of it, right? God is a gentle father. I was
Yeah.
telling my friend that over the week. Like he's very gentle. So
Yeah.
if he brings it up, it's time.
Yes.
Don't rationalize and say, well, it's too much. No, it's not too much because he brought it up.
Amen. Yeah.
He brought it up. So it's time. He's ready to say, let me take that from you right now. This is the moment. And you are making that area even bigger than what God sees it to be. And it's not to minimize what you've navigated. Like you've heard a piece of my story. Like
Yes.
It's not minimizing it. It's just his ability to say, this is the time for you to let that go and forgive and to release or to understand that this is why you perceive the way you do. One of the first lessons, I will say it that way, a Job Corps that God taught me, because I left with God's voice saying go. So I left with his command. I didn't go because I wanted to go. Y'all, I was leaving my family. I was 16. It
Mhm.
didn't make sense. But I remember going through this process of healing and asking God what I call the hard questions, like, why did I experience that? Why did this happen? And I love that you mentioned and tied in free will.
Mhm.
Like, understanding that another individual used and misused and abused their free will to cause harm to me, that it's never God's will.
Yeah.
But that's what they did, right? It's just like a drunk driver choosing and thinking that they can handle the drink and
Mhm.
getting on the highway and getting on an accident, and that accident become, something that is a disaster for other families.
Right.
They chose to do that, and that now impacts, other people. But one of the questions that, or things that God showed me when I started asking him these questions was he showed me how my trauma impacted how I perceived, how I trusted, and how I perceived him.
Mhm.
And it was because I asked the question. So my encouragement for women is stop identifying with your personality and thinking that it's you. That you're the reason that you always tough is because that's who my grandma was, or that's who, this is who I am. And da, 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 da. No, sis, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember, like, how God gives you these anthems. I'm gonna call it an anthem,
Yeah.
but it was just this anthem, a word in my life for a season. It's like, what if you realize that at some point of your life that whole time for 20, 40 years that you weren't who God actually created you to be.
Wow. Wow.
Man, that would be like I would be frustrated with myself. At the very least, I would be frustrated with myself.
Yeah.
But I believe we do that. We live in the shadow of who God has created us to be because we're not willing to deal with the things that made us be who we are, right? Like the reason you may feel hard and protective of yourself is not because that's how God intended, it's because your circumstances created that shell of you.
Yeah.
And God is wanting to undo that so you can see the soft you.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
It's that evolving, and you mentioned it earlier, like layer by layer, but you have to let him, and you
You
have
got
to
to let
ask
him.
the good questions and dig deep. And too many times we want to push it back down, but it's going to come
Yes.
out sometime
It will.
if you
And
don't
it
deal with
has.
it.
Yeah. We don't realize it. It's in our talk, it's in how we behave, it's how we interact. It's become so much more of our identity that we're not able to determine
Yes.
because that's all we've known. And I think what women should be encouraged to do, what I'm encouraging you to do is question that.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Question it.
I still
Yeah.
do
So
that at my age. That's how I get to be a good Titus 2 woman. I'm like,
right.
follow me as I follow after Christ
Right.
and have to uncover all this stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
So, I mean, you just like listed off all these things that you've accomplished and, in your journey. But one thing we haven't touched on yet, that's another thing that amazes me is like, you've written a few books as
Yes, I
well.
have. I
What
have. I
inspired
have.
those?
I always knew I would write
Mhm.
as a teenager. So in the midst of all of that trauma and also seeking God and hearing His voice, I knew the first name of my book when I was a teenager. I knew I used to write poetry as an outlet.
Mhm.
And I still have those books today, like tablets.
Yes.
So I always wrote as a way to communicate to God and just communicate my feelings. But I knew I would write. I didn't know I would write as many books that I've written. Now I won't, say that. I just knew, like, my first book is called Woman Arise.
Wow.
And I knew the title of that book. I knew it, like, and it dives into all of the seasons, if you would, or times that God produced me up until that point. I talk about arising out of your past, which is what
Mm,
we've talked about, right?
yes.
Arising into intimacy with God. I made it clear that the meat of the cake in my life is my relationship with God,
Wow.
period.
Yes.
Anything else that I've done or will do is icing.
Yes.
It's icing, but it's in response to that relationship and digging into those layers of what caused me to be who I was up until the moment that God revealed there's something better. And then
Mm.
the last one is arise into your purpose. So it's the three layers, right? Arise out of your past, arise into intimacy, have a relationship with God. And
Mhm.
this is the way I was describing it to my daughters the other day. I'm like, let's say you were dating somebody in Italy, you know, and you talk to him like once a month.
Yes.
Are you in a relationship for real?
I
Like,
use this all the time. Yes.
are you really in something? Like, it's something really, because your friends are all going to be like, let's have an intervention. Because I think sis is being catfished. I don't think homie exists. Like, I don't, so that's what I look at when I think about God. It's like, don't just say God is with you. I actually did a post about this. These three layers of like God being amongst the people in the Old Testament, God being with us with Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us, and
Mhm.
then God being in us, New Testament, right? Like you see this connection where God is just constantly coming close to his people.
Yes.
But I said there's a lot of people that says God is with me, and it's very superficial.
Yes.
So I think it's important for women to know like that long-term Italy example is not a relationship.
Right. Right.
It's not.
Yeah. Even if you visit them once a year at Christmas.
No. So when I say intimacy, I mean deep. Go deep with God. Deal with the things that you need to deal with. And you don't have to talk about that every day when you're talking to God,
Yeah.
but be with God. Create space to be with him. You don't know, you don't understand, tell him. I'm like, why do we think we have to say things that is not true? I
Right.
used to tell God when he told me to forgive when I was 16, I was like, God, I don't want to do that. Like, what? They don't deserve that. What are you talking about? Like I would talk to God just like that. And
Yeah.
this is what I said more specifically. I was like, God, you created forgiveness.
Yeah.
That is not a human desire. Like that's not natural for us post fall, right? Like
Right.
we don't do that. Like, so if you want me to do this, then you have to teach me and you have to give me the ability and capacity to do it. That was me at 16. That's the conversations I was having with God at 16.
Yeah.
I wasn't just trying to pretend, oh, okay, or whatever. No, I was very honest. I don't want to. I'm not even feeling it right now.
Right. Right.
But if you really want me to, because you created it, not me, then give me the heart to want to. And he did that. Why wouldn't he answer that prayer?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
So
and you can be honest with him because he can handle it.
he knows that anyway. It's like your phone being bugged. And then and you're like pretending like, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Okay, let's press record and let's press play.
Yes.
you know, he knows anyway, and he still loves us.
Right.
I think that's what women we should understand, that he knows every depth of you, even the parts that you don't even know about yourself,
Right. Right.
and he still loves you anyway.
Hmm.
So what are you waiting for?
Yeah. Right. Okay. You heard it.
Like what would
Who I don't know who that was for.
yeah.
Well, okay. I think we've covered a lot. I'm loving this conversation with you. I think we need to do this again sometime because you're just so deep. You just have so much to share with everyone. Like, I hope you get all the opportunities to share. You're so inspiring. Is there anything else that you want to share? I don't want to cut you off. Anything else you'd like to say to inspire these women to pursue their dream, their God given purpose?
Yeah, I know we didn't get to it, but we've talked about it actually. It's just when life happens, right? At times we didn't talk about cycles. We kind of talked about it. I alluded to it in my story, being in a home with trauma, and it's because my family was continuing a cycle that they experienced
Oh,
in their life,
yes.
that my grandmother experienced in her life, and my mom. So we're just reaping, and then we are then built with that same system, because
Yes.
at times I think I was saying this in another video, like I think we think it's enough to just say what we're not going to do.
Mm,
I see this with the young girls too, that they're like, I'm going to be different than my mom. And I was like, I don't think y'all recognize the work that's
yes.
ahead of you to do that. There was work ahead of me at 16 when I left to go to Job Corps to actually embark on being just creating a different legacy. Like when I look at my family tree, I see trauma, cycles, and then I see this branch of me and my family going the other direction. And it's because of being obedient at 16 too, and saying, yes, God, I'm going to go. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to get out of my literal environment from Louisiana to Texas. And even when I get to Texas, into this environment at Job Corps, I'm going to continue to seek you every day. Like, it's a constant decision of obedience. And it's a constant decision that you have to determine and decide that you're not going to do the things that your family did, right? Like, and what I mean by that, I don't drink, right? And I have friends who drink. I hang with people who drink wine. They had a better example. Let me just be real. Like my
Right.
example was
Yes.
not that. Like my example is you drink, you on the floor.
Yes.
Not a good example.
Or hurting
So,
people.
right, or angry, or I just didn't have a good example. So once God started to show me that I had these patterns, right, that these cycles and generational curses that we may call them are in my family, I'm like, I can't even do that. Like my friend, her mom and dad, they drank a glass of wine at dinner. They didn't get angry. They were kind. You know what I mean? Like she just has a different picture.
Yeah.
So me and her can sit at the table. She can drink wine. I got my Coke.
Yes.
I'm good. But the reason why I use that example is that you have to recognize the patterns that are in your family.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just determine that, oh, I'm different. I couldn't just say, I'm going to be different. I'm going to still drink wine.
Yeah.
No, not for my side of the family. It just ain't going to work like that. I'm going to be more than likely the way that they were to me, to my kids.
Yes.
That's just is, and I can have fun. Me and my friend, we gonna laugh the same energy. We're gonna be giving each other the same energy with her whine and me not whining. Like
Yes.
it doesn't impact who I am. And I think we have to realize that there's some things you can't do if you want to change the trajectory of your life.
Some places you can't go, some people you can't hang with. I hear you. Yeah.
And I'm so obsessed with following God. Like I'm if people would ask me, how do you do? If I'm doing the thing, if you see me do another thing, it's because I've asked or he's put it on my heart to do it. I've studied and prayed and asked again and again. I'm going to do that today because there's something else he's asking me to do. But I don't have time to waste.
Right.
Right. When people ask me that question, like, how do you have time to do? I said, because you have more time to waste. I don't. So where you may be parlaying and lollygagging, I don't even have the desire to do that. I'm probably writing another book, or I'm probably sitting with my family. I'm probably reading up on the thing that I'm doing to make whatever he has my hands on better. Like that's where my time goes. So I maximize the time that I've been given because I recognize that I'm not here for me.
Right.
So my scripture, I want to end on that one because that you asked me my scripture. This was my scripture when I was younger, and I feel like it describes it. It's 2 Corinthians 5:15, and I'm reading it out of the ESV version. It says, for the love of Christ controls us, because we have concluded this, that the one has died for all, therefore all have died. And he died for all, and that those who live, which is us, might no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised again. So in summary, my life belongs to him.
Yes.
I don't live for me. I live for him.
Yes.
That's it.
Wow. I want to encourage everyone out there with what Laura said, because it doesn't come easy. It takes work. You have to do the work. You have to dig deep like in a gold mine. God has planted something in your heart for you to accomplish. And Laura is like on level 15 in this game. But it's like our timeless truth says, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams.
Yes.
But you have to pursue that dream that God has put in your heart. And it's not easy, like she said, but you have to believe that he has a higher purpose. I love how you said, like, you don't have time to waste. I told you I have a birthday coming up, and I feel this urgency. Like there are so many dreams that God has placed inside of me that I want to birth into the world,
Yeah.
and I know it's not going to be easy. None of them have ever been
No.
easy, but I want to fight. I want to break the cycles. I
Yeah.
want the life of my family. I did a podcast with my son. You should, go
Okay.
back and
Oh,
listen to it
yes.
because he mentioned some things that, are similar to what you said, just revelations from God.
Yeah.
And that's the fruit that we get to see when you see these people graduate from the school, when you
Yeah.
see cycles being broken in the lives of the people that you get to mentor in new life, when you get to go to Africa and bring hope, you know,
Yeah.
when they say like you came all the way from the States to see
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
that young girl
Wow.
that's 19 now, and beautiful dreamer, this is what I want you to know. We're here for you. We're here to encourage you that if we did it, you can do it. You can break the cycles. You can do the work. And I want you to know you can reach out to us, and you can find Lora on social platforms at Lora D. Williams. But more importantly, I want you to look for her books on Amazon.com because that's one of the things, like, she just blows me away. I'm like still working on the same book for 10 years.
You silly.
And in your challenge for today is to dig deep and find
Yeah.
that dream that God has put in your heart, to do the work, to stop making excuses, um, to come before God. Like Laura said, it's a relationship, it's a daily relationship, and He's going to meet you right there. And He's going to
Yes.
come alongside you and help you fulfill that dream. That's what this is all about. And I really pray that Laura inspired you like she does me. And with her story, she helped you truly believe that happily ever after isn't a lie.